Hello, EU.engineer. How are you? I'm Beatrice Gilli. I'm a civil engineer and I work here in Ireland. And I am the founder of the EU.engineer project. And today we have a special guest. He's from Egypt and he's working in England as quality engineer. But before I introduce him, I would like to say a few words. And most of the times I always read one message, but most of the times the messages are in English, in Portuguese. So today, because I want to read something in English, I will just read one sentence that I found here, and I think it's good for all of us to think about it. The wisest mind has something yet to learn. So we always have something to learn, no matter what you know, no matter how much you have been studying your life, you always have something to learn. And today we're going to learn with our guest, Mahmoud. Mahmoud, I hope I said right. And he'll be here to introduce a little bit of his life and his experience. Mahmoud, welcome to the U Engineer.
Hi, Beatrice. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, first of all. Thank you for
Nice to
being
meet
here.
you.
Thank you
Of
for
course.
accepting this.
Of course.
And before we start talking about engineer and your life in England, I would like to know a little bit more about Mahmoud. So, who are you, where you came from, and how you end up in England?
Okay, so it's a bit of a long story, but I'm originally from Egypt. I grew up in Cairo, um, lived there. My whole family is from there. I lived there till I was 18. I finished my A levels, my GCSEs, and then I moved to the US to start my undergraduate degree. While I was there, I studied material engineering as well as environmental engineering as a minor. And then once I graduated there, I stayed and worked as a quality control engineer for a company called Alcon. And they're the global leader for eye contact solutions, medical devices for eye surgery, anything medical eye related. They were specializing in it. Following that, I was as an Egyptian citizen. You have to complete mandatory military service. So and you have to complete that once you're done with your once you turn 18 actually. And once you turn 18, if you're not studying, then you're not exempt to from the service. If you are studying masters, bachelors, any higher education, then you are temporarily exempt until your studies end. So
Okay. So
yeah,
even 5, 10 years later, you still need to
yeah. So
serve.
the maximum age is 30. So once you're unless it's changed since the last time I checked, but once you're 30, you're no longer required to serve. And at the time, I finished my undergraduate degree when I was 22. So I still had 8 years to go. Um, but I didn't go straight back to the army. I worked for a year because in the US when I was on a student visa, and part of the student visa there in the US is that they have this incentive for international students that once they finish their degree, they can have 1 year of work authorization to work for a company that is specialized or that is within their field without sponsorship. And if you're in the STEM field, so science, technology, engineering, or math, you can have 3 years. You basically get a 2 year extension on
That's
top
good.
of the 1 year that's already given to you. So obviously, I wanted to make use of that. I wanted to utilize this opportunity before I can go back to Egypt, because like once you leave the U.S. on a student visa, like you don't really have any reason
Other
to stay
options.
there. Any other options, yeah, other than you come back on a tourist visa, but you can't work there on a tourist visa. or you get married to an American citizen, or you invest, or you start a company there. They have special visas for that kind of stuff. So for me, that was the only option. I really wanted to get some work experience, especially from the US. And especially because I just finished uni and I had some fitness to learn more.
Definitely.
And I felt that if I had gone straight back to the army, I would have lost my momentum and I wouldn't have had the opportunity to apply what I've learned right away.
Yes.
So I stayed for an extra year after my undergraduate degree, and I worked as a quality control engineer there. Obviously, it was a bit tough because a lot of the times when you apply, they ask you, do you have the right to work in the US? And I'm sure they do the same here in the UK as well. So when a lot of the companies, when they see that you don't have an American
Yes.
passport, or you don't have the green card, or any form of work authorization that is not restricting, they're not really motivated or encouraged to hire you, because they know that it's going to cost them money to sponsor you, and
All the
they
process
don't,
and the bureaucracy. Yeah.
exactly, yeah, and especially for younger professionals, when they don't have enough experience, they don't have much credibility. So when you sponsor someone, you're basically taking full responsibility of that person in your country, and you're investing in them, and it's a long legal process. Especially, it's even more strict in the US than it is here in the UK. So, but luckily for me, I had this work authorization permit. So I could, because I did engineering, I was allowed to stay there for 3 years and work there. It's basically you're giving the employer a chance to see how good you are at what you do. And if you do really well in the first year, second year, who knows, maybe it can wait up to the third year, they'll think to themselves, okay, so I've known such and such for this amount of time. They've worked in my company for this amount of time. They've done really well. They've proved themselves. Maybe they are worth sponsoring. So for me, I worked there as a contractor, and it was a 12-month contract. So it was good for me and for the company, because they didn't need to sponsor me. They knew that I had the work authorization required for the period of time that I was needed there for.
Yes.
But they also discussed with me that there is the potential that if you do really well, we can extend your contract and sponsor you, or we can turn you into a full-time employee.
That's nice.
So I stayed there for a little bit under a year, and then at some point, I thought to myself, I didn't want to wait too much on this whole army thing. I want to get it out of the way, because it was very restricting in so many aspects in my life. For example, if you don't complete the army in Egypt, you can't travel outside of Egypt unless you're already outside of Egypt.
Okay.
You can't work in Egypt, because when one of the first things when you go and apply for a job in Egypt, and let's say you get accepted, they ask you, have you finished your military obligation? Have you finished your military duties? And if you have, they ask you for a certificate of completion. Similarly, when you try to travel outside of Egypt as well, at the airports and on the border, right before you board the plane or go to the boarding gates, you have immigration officers that ask the Egyptians, the male Egyptians, the ones that are at least below the age of 30, do you have your military completion certificate? And then you have to show them that. Now it's done electronically, but still, and if you don't, then you're turned around, and then you have to go back and obviously finish your military service. So I went back, and I got it over and done with. It was obviously a long and tedious process. Uh, it was very very demotivating at first, but a lot of good came out of it. It taught me how to be more patient. It taught me how to try to make the best of any situation that you're put in. It definitely exposed me to a lot of people, because when you're in the army, you're put with people from all sorts of backgrounds. There is no form of like classism, any form of segregation. No one's distinguishing you from anyone else. Sometimes people do that. If you have connections in the army, then you might get treated better, but it's not that much better, to be honest. But yeah, they teach you a lot of things. They teach you how to be more disciplined. They teach you how to respond to authority. They teach you how to be very tolerant to different behavior from different people. And yeah, and it made me appreciate a lot of the things that I about my normal non-military civilian life.
Yes.
So during the service, I would have vacations. I would take breaks, and I can go back home and have my mom's food, for example, or sleep in my own air-conditioned room, or play with my dog downstairs in the garden. So these are a lot of things that I took for granted before. But then once you have an experience like the army, you start to appreciate the heaven that you're in. Or
Yeah.
maybe at the time you didn't think it was heaven, but once you got put in those circumstances, you realize it's heaven. Um,
And the
yeah.
opposite as well, right? Because you realize you can live with less and you can
Sorry.
survive. The opposite as well, I think you're gonna learn when you are on the army experience. I don't have this experience, so I'm just guessing. And
Mhm.
you learn that you can live with less as well. So you can live without
Yeah.
all these things and you still can survive. So it's good for us because
Exactly.
that makes us stronger, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. You become more resourceful. You
Yes.
you start paying attention more to your resources, because I remember when obviously in the first stages of joining the army, you're put into a boot camp, and it's 60 days in the middle of the desert, sometimes near cities, but it's usually military areas are far from the cities, and you are stuck there for 60 days. So you have to be resourceful with your money. Sometimes there's like a shop where you can buy some snacks, shampoo, essentials basically, and you can also bring your own essentials with you. But you had to be very resourceful. You had to make sure that this money lasts you for 60 days. This that the shampoo, the soap, the cleaning products can last you for 60 days. If you have, I don't know, like nail clippers, or if you have enough bedding sheets. They do give you bedding sheets there as well, but it's you want to make sure that you have your own stuff. Sometimes it's not sanitary. Um, so you do become very resourceful. But yeah, overall, it was a good experience. I served in the Egyptian Air Force, and over there, I was in my military base, sort of computer guy, more on the technical side of things. I was a cadet, um, and a lot of the times, if somebody was struggling with anything computer related, I would be the one there helping or assisting. Um, but yeah, it was just mainly minor issues. Nothing too fancy like setting up an intelligence to spy on someone else. It wasn't.
Oh,
Yeah, it was just very minor computer issues. But
just one cable that was plugged wrong or things like that.
no, yeah, it was just very yeah, very innocent things. But yeah, I did that for about 16 to 17 months. And yeah, the good thing about it was during COVID, so the time was going by really quick, and I'm glad that it happened during COVID, because I felt like the world was already on pause, and people were already missing out years of their lives. And for me, because it happened, it was aligned with that period of time. So at the end of the day, I felt like I didn't really lose much. There was a lot of people that were unemployed, and they were going through a lot of like depression, and they were going through phases where they didn't have enough income to support themselves, and they couldn't really, like work or put in the effort that they would wanted to, because companies were shutting down. There was less travel. There was a pandemic going on, and to me, being in the army was very similar. The only thing is, I felt like everyone else was in the same boat, because when if you're in a circumstance where you're serving in the army and you see everyone else around you enjoying the freedom of the world, it becomes very depressing and it's sad.
Yeah.
But because I saw everyone else going through the similar circumstances, I didn't really feel like I was losing out much. And the time went by pretty fast, to be honest. First few months when you're adjusting, it takes a toll. It makes you feel very restricted and very suffocated, and you haven't really adapted yet. But then eventually you start making friends, you start knowing the officers, the people that are above you, and you start making good connections, and then you start having stories to tell, and the time does go by really quick at the end.
That's good.
Yeah.
And actually, you got like a great time for it, because if you need to do it anyway, you don't have other options.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
when you decide to go, was already on the pandemic's moment, or you just decide to go and then everything start to happen?
So I left the US in 2019, mid 2019, and
Okay. So it was.
I joined the army in late 2019, and then the pandemic hit at the beginning of uh,
March.
2020.
Yeah.
Yeah. So by the time I finished boot camp, I came back home and the world was ending. So, or it seemed like it was ending, because of the COVID and all that stuff. But
Perfect
yeah,
timing.
I just jumped straight into it. I didn't want to waste any more time. I wanted to get this over and done with so I can, like be able to travel outside of Egypt. If I'm outside of Egypt, I want to be able to come back and visit my family and enjoy the country. And if I had any career prospects or a future to work in Egypt, I can do that.
Yes.
So that's why, yeah, I wanted to get out of the way.
Great choice. Well done. And can you say that your bachelor degree was helpful for you during this time? Like, could you use anything that you learned during the
Yes,
pandemic? In yes.
yes, and I'll tell you why. Because when you join the army, you can either join, you're either taken for 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. If you have no education at all, if you didn't go to school, you barely read and write, you go for 3 years. If you have some education, but you didn't go to university, you go for 2 years. If you have a bachelor's degree, a doctorate, a master's, any of the higher education levels, you go only for 1 year. So if it did help me, it did help me a lot because it saved me about 2 years. Um, However, did I use the stuff that I've learned in my bachelor's degree in the army? Not really, no. The technical skills that I use in the army were just me, things that I've learned over the years, being exposed to computers and IT. From a young age, I was very 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 involved with like computer programming. I had two older brothers, so a little bit about my background. Everyone in my family is an engineer. My mom, my dad, my brother, and my other brother as well. And so from a young age, like technology was in my face. So and I couldn't really escape it. And then it just pretty much became my fate. Um,
It's part of your
so
life.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
your
So
blood.
I picked up a few things along the way, and I'm the oldest. I'm the youngest out of three brothers. So I had my two other brothers who they kind of like showed me the way as well. So yeah, anything that I did in the army was probably something that I've learned over the years, not necessarily from my degree.
It's really nice. And all your brothers, are they working in Egypt or they are outside the
No,
country?
so they're both they had a similar path as mine. They both graduated from universities in Egypt, and then they worked shortly in Egypt after graduation, and then their companies sent them abroad. So one of them works now in Dubai for AWS, um, one of the biggest cloud services in the world. And then the other one works in Schlumberger, which is oil and gas in Saudi Arabia. And they have been moved globally several times. But every now and then, we just actually recently, we all gathered back in Egypt for a change, and they did come here to the UK to attend my graduation as well. But yeah, like every few months, we'll all gather somewhere, maybe in Dubai, maybe in Egypt, maybe in the UK.
Somewhere in the world.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
really nice. And now, okay, so when you finish your army,
Mhm.
what was the moment when you decide to go to England? What happens before that? Because
So that is also another story. When at the time when I started the army, I had this vision that once I finished the army, I'm gonna go back into engineering. And just keep in mind that I took one coding programming class in my undergrad degree, and I absolutely hated it. It was Introduction to C++.
oh my God, I know.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of engineers take this course, and
Yeah,
I hated it so much. So I barely passed it as well. And
I
once I
think
was
it's the
done with
worst
it,
one.
yeah, yeah, because it's one of the older languages as well.
Exactly, it's the hard
Yeah,
one. Yeah,
and then I once I was done with it, I was so happy. I was telling myself, I'm never touching this again, never. Fast forward a few years, I start while I was in the army. I my dad would tell me you need to start preparing for your life after the army. What jobs are you gonna be looking at? You start applying for jobs now. You need to start looking if you want to study more. You need to start looking what is demanded in the industry, what is important nowadays, what skills that you must have, and especially once COVID hit as well. The sense of job security started going down. So then I kept telling myself, no, 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 I really need to stand out now. I need to stand out. And I was looking at the field of engineering in Egypt. It's a very saturated market. There are so many engineers, and it's part of the culture as well because as Egyptians, we have this tendency to kind of force these three main disciplines upon our children, whether it's medicine, becoming a doctor, law, becoming a lawyer, or engineering. And
quite the same in Brazil, I can say.
yeah, it's very traditional. It's I think it's something to do with the generations like two or three generations before us. They were very obsessed with those three occupations, but they don't necessarily understand that nowadays there are a
So
lot
many
of
others. Yeah.
so many occupations, so many jobs that can get you the same amount of respect, the same amount of money, and the same amount of job security. Because the world is changing. The world has more to work with other
Yes.
than just building and law and medicine. Especially the world of IT. Like IT now, it's if you would have looked at IT 25, 30 years ago, it looked like something that was so small and nobody wanted to work in it because it didn't have enough to offer. Now, almost every business, your business is most likely going to fail if you don't have any aspect of IT in it now. So yeah, so at the time, like during the middle of my service, I was getting exposed to this idea of data science and programming and AI and machine learning, and all of these were things that were just buzzwords that I kept hearing or seeing on the internet, and I never really paid much attention to it until I decided that I wanted to do a master's. I wanted to do a master's, and I wanted to do it either in the US or Canada or the UK or Germany or somewhere where being an engineer is valued. So I started looking at all these universities and I started weighing the pros and cons The US, for example, had very good education, but it was very expensive. And it was also twice the amount of time. A
Okay.
master's degree there is about 2 years. Um, and I also looked at the possibility of working there as a foreign national. And then I compared that to Canada. Canada, they have very good immigration paths, but not so much the labor market. The job opportunities there and the salaries, they're not as good as the ones in the US. The US has for engineers there, they make very good money and they're very well paid. But it's just a matter of the work authorization, the immigration path itself. Then I looked at the UK, and the UK, it was going through Brexit at the time. And one of so obviously they had a lot of regulations changing and new laws, legislations being introduced. And one of them was um, for anyone who has completed a bachelor's degree or a master's degree or anything higher after the summer of 2021, so you've graduated after the summer of 2021, you are eligible for something called a post-study work visa, which is similar to the visa that I was talking about earlier in the US,
US,
but it's
yes.
for 2 years. And you can work for any employer. The good thing about this is that there's no restrictions. You can work almost any job. It doesn't have to be within your field. So if you want to work, if you want to have like a part-time job while you find a job within your field, you're allowed to do that. Whereas the other one in the US, you weren't allowed to do that. You can only work in a career that was specified or that is specifically for your degree. Um, so I looked more into it, and then I thought to myself, like this seemed like a good opportunity because before this new regulation was introduced in the UK, if you finish your degree before the summer of 2021, you only have about 4 months to find a job and to be sponsored to switch to the other visa. There's something called the tier 2 visa. Switch from student visa to a tier 2 visa. Tier 2 visa is basically a skilled worker visa, which is what they call it now. So obviously having 4 months is not enough, and then a lot of students had to end up going back home. So I wanted to take advantage of the situation. I studied it really well, and I sort of aligned it with my timeline. So I told myself that I was going to finish the army by December 2020. So I didn't want to waste any time, and I want to apply for a university that can take me ideally as soon as possible, as soon as I finish the army. So I started looking at universities in the UK, and unfortunately, the majority of them only start in September. Just like any other university, the academic calendar year starts around August, September, October, and then it finishes in May, June, or July.
Yes.
So I had to kind of refine my scope and the universities that I was looking at, and then I came across the University of Surrey. And University of Surrey, they had a lot of there was a good amount of universities that had a January or a February intake, but obviously the courses or the number of courses there was limited. The number of programs and degrees that you can study there was limited. They only offered a few. So I looked at the University of Surrey and its rankings, and it was highly ranked for electrical engineering and computer science amongst all other universities in the UK. And on top of that, it was also ranked number one in the UK for graduate employability. So they really, yeah, and I need that's something that I needed because as an international student, you want to get as much help as you possibly could. So I sent in my application along with I applied to other universities as well, Queen Mary, Royal Holloway, Brunel, And then I got some offers back, and the one that stood out to me the most was Surrey, because of the reasons I mentioned, like very good graduate employability, highly ranked in computer science. And at the time, I wanted to study manufacturing engineering. I wanted to study either manufacturing engineering or something to do with a hybrid, a blend between engineering and IT or engineering and management. But unfortunately, the programs that were available at the time didn't have that. And I was looking at the programs that they had, and one of them was data science, and you had the option to specialize in machine learning or AI. So usually I would have been put off. Usually, like when I'm searching for degrees, like no, there's no way I'm looking at that. But I sat down for a second and I read through the curriculum. I read through the requirements, um, and obviously there was a lot of things that I didn't understand, because the the program itself, or the description of the program, was made for people who already have some sort of experience or background in that field, in the computer science field. Then I started searching more on Google, just to see what is the potential of uh, getting this degree. What would my career look like if I finished this degree and I would be labeled as I don't know, data scientist, machine learning engineer, or at least having these skills? What can I do? And then after reading through so many articles, looking at so many YouTube videos, people talking about their experiences as a data scientist, people talking about their experiences as working in the IT field, looking at salaries, looking at job security, looking at how remote you can work. That was also something that was appealing to me at the time, because before COVID, that was a luxury that you can work from home and make the same amount of money. I think back then it was something like, I don't know, like if you own a business, you might be the only person who can do something like that.
Yes.
So because you're working in IT and you have the ability to do all of your work from your computer, you have a lot of mobility. You can move around the world a lot. You can work from anywhere. Given that obviously your job allows you to do that. Um, and yeah, so I took all of these things into account, and I, pressed pressed the button, and I said, okay, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go for this. This is I'm now very interested in this. However, there was one thing, and the one problem with that is that it was very programming oriented.
C++ again.
No, it wasn't just C plus. It was, yeah, it was a wide variety of languages. And then that was one of the requirements, is that you needed to have some experience with programming or some background knowledge of programming. And all I can think in my head, I was like, oh, not this again, not this again. And then,
But you had the experience with the worst one, so anyone after that will be good.
see, that's the thing. At the time, I didn't know what was worse, what was bad, what was good,
Okay.
what was easy, all that stuff. So um, I
You was
started
just
looking at,
afraid about that.
yeah, and it put me off a little bit, to be honest. Like I was very hesitant, and I was telling myself, okay, maybe this is not for me. Then one thing led to another. I found myself during my free time in the army, I was learning how to code in Python. And I before that, I didn't know which languages were important. There's so many of them. I didn't know which languages can get you to which jobs. There's so many jobs within IT: software developer, network engineer, data scientist, data analyst, VBA with Excel. There's so many things, and I was lost, or cloud engineering, and there was no one there to guide me. So I had to watch as many YouTube videos as I possibly could to kind of narrow down what seemed the most appealing to me. And the reason why I chose data science was because it was a good combination between programming and math and statistics. A lot of the other fields don't require as much math and statistics, but they do require a good amount. But data science, you needed a very good background in statistics and math. And as an engineer, that was already something that I have been exposed to. So for me to bridge over to that, it was easy. And also, I looked at the potential of being a data scientist. Like you can forecast, you can draw conclusions from data that usually people can't really draw it, or they can't really extract this information using simple tools like Excel or Tableau or Minitab. But with Python and data science and machine learning, you can find out a lot more about what the data is trying to tell you with these tools. So obviously at that time, I told myself, okay, well, I need to prepare this. The application deadline ends at this time, at this week, at this month, and I'm going to split the rest of my time, my free time that I have, learning this part, then this part, then this part. And then once I felt confident enough, I can write a personal statement and apply to the university. So during the free time that I had, I was practicing a lot of coding, and all from YouTube. And then during the time when I wasn't at home and I didn't have access to my laptop, because you can't really take your laptop to the military, you can only take your phone, and it has to be a specific kind of phone that doesn't have a camera or any of that stuff. You can take a book with you. So I took some programming books. And let me tell you, learning how to program from books is probably one of the most annoying and the most, if I hated programming, doing it on the computer, I hated it even more learning from a book, because the worst thing is that you want to learn something, but you can't even try it out because you don't have a computer to try it. You just have to trust what the book is telling you. So it would be 1 week in the service, 1 week off. And then as the time went by in my military service, I got more and more days off. And I'll just be excited to go back home and apply what I learned from the book to the laptop, and write these like little programs that output something, or like a phrase, or write like a little dice rolling program, or do some numerical operations that they would take a long time on the calculator or on Excel, for example. So then it got to a point where I was comfortable enough to write a personal statement. And the personal statement, obviously, the first thing they ask you, like, why do you want to do this? Why do you want to, first of all, join this university? Yeah. And why do you want to study this? So I had enough experience with programming at that point to actually give them a good reason that they can understand. And I put my thoughts into words, into a personal statement, and then I sent my application. And then towards the very, very end, like the last month before my military service ended, I got the offer from the University of Surrey, saying that it was unconditional, and you can start in February. And then between December and February, I had to get everything together. First of all, I had to get a visa, a student visa, and that on its own was a long process. You have to provide them with so many documents. You have to provide them with financial evidence that you have enough money to sustain yourself for the 1 year of the master's. And I had to sort out my accommodation as well. Luckily for me, I already had friends living in London. Actually, one of my very, very close friends who I grew up with, when I went to the US, he went to the UK and he studied there, and then he moved to London. So it was easy for me to kind of adapt straight away, because I already had someone there who knew the ins and outs of London or UK living in general.
Yes.
Then
do you need to get your visa approved before you go to London?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, you have to get the visa approved. You give them the passport for about 14 Usually they say 14 to 21 days. I got it about maybe like 16 days, and they give you like a little sticker, and then that sticker it's on your passport, obviously. And then you go to the UK border, and then you show the guy, and the guy asks you, "What are you doing here? Like, what's your purpose for the visit?" And then you show him the visa, and then which university are you studying in? Why did you find this interesting? And just very small talk. And then you walk through, and then your life in the UK has started.
Yes.
Um, yeah, then obviously I started my course, and it was a bit challenging at first because most of the people that were in that course, they had already had a lot more programming and IT exposure than I have. So they were teaching you the material based on the fact that you already know or you already have experience in IT. So while everyone's coding, I'm the one sitting at the board just looking like, oh my God, like I need to go back home now and look this up. So it was difficult at first. It was very difficult because I underestimated how how much I needed to know. But then I thought to myself, but these people accepted me. Surely they saw some sort of potential. And I'm
Definitely.
already here now, and I've already paid the thousands and thousands of pounds of tuition. So I need to make the best of this. I need to like,
Go through it. Yeah.
yeah. If it means that I have to spend extra hours and sleep less, then I need to do that. So going back to YouTube again, learning how to code, but this time I had guidance because I knew exactly which courses and which topics to look up that I would be tested on. So I would go on YouTube, type a topic that we just learned about, and then I had more structure to the learning that I was doing. And the good thing about the studying in the UK as opposed to the US is, at least this is for me, in the UK you have until usually you have until the end of the year or the end of the semester to take an exam, submit a project, coursework, or any assignment. You basically go at your own pace. Whereas in the US, it's not like that. In the US, every single week, you have homework, you have attendance, you have sometimes behavior, which I think is a bit, like come on, if you're 18 and 19, like it's not really something that you should be assessed on, but it could be mixed with like class participation as well. So every week your contribution counts in the US, and it keeps you on your feet a lot because it doesn't give you the chance to go at your own pace. However, in a case like mine where I needed to go at my own pace because I was already slower than everyone else, I was behind while everyone else had 1 or 2 years of work experience as well in programming. I needed to take some slow moves first, take my time, absorb everything, and then later on, hopefully, I'll be able to catch up. And that's exactly what happened. Um, One thing after another, I started, absorbing the information more. I started completing the assignments. I started connecting with other students, see how their solutions, how they approached this problem. I learned from them as well. Overall, I think it was a good experience. I think I needed to get out of my comfort zone because from a young age, engineering was kind of like written for me because of
Yes.
my family, because of the culture that I grew up in. But once I saw the potential for being in the field of IT and being in data science, even continuing as an engineer, it was very having those skills it supplements your engineering background really well, which brings me on to my next topic: working here as a quality engineer in the UK.
Yes.
So, the moment that you've been waiting for.
No, it's
Uh,
but it's good. It's great to hear all your history and everything that you become you can through until you get there because you like you had a lot of obstacles in your life, so a lot of
Mm,
challenges, and
mm,
all of them become who you are now, help you to become who you are now and where you are now. So it's great to
exactly. Yeah.
hear all this. I'm quite here because I'm really paying attention on all your life story. It's
Thank you.
amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well
I
done.
appreciate that.
Yes.
But yeah,
But tell me how
so
you end up there now.
so obviously towards the end of my master's, I like a month or two, I started applying for jobs. Keep in mind at the time I had experience working as a quality engineer in the US, and I
Yes.
also had programming experience. So my the jobs that I was looking for, they're either in data science or either in engineering or manufacturing. So I wrote my CV to match this criteria so it can be appealing to the people that are looking to hire data scientists or manufacturing or quality engineers. And I think it was one day I got a call from a recruiter, and she called me saying, "Hey, we've been looking for someone who has these skills, and we came across your resume, and we just wanted to see if you're still looking for a job." And I said, "Yeah, I'm interested to hear about what you have to say." And they said, "Okay, so my client works in this, and this, and that, and they need someone who's a quality engineer." And I told her, "Yeah, I think I'll be able to do this. Let's put together an application and send it to them." And I told her that just so you are aware, I'm an international student. I don't have British citizenship. However, I do have 2 years of work authorization to use after I graduate. So just to not waste your time or waste the company's time, let them know that beforehand. And she sent my application to my manager, and he interviewed me. And the interview went well. And very, very shortly afterwards, he sent me an email saying, "Hey, we're considering making you an offer.
That's great.
We would like you to speak with our HR department." And I spoke with the HR department, and it was the head of the HR department, and she asked me a lot of questions. Obviously, she asked me, "So you have this work authorization for 2 years, but we also have the option to sponsor you, because in order for a company to sponsor you in the UK, they need to have a sponsoring license."
Ah,
And
okay.
this is something that they have to apply for, and they have to pay for as well. And you can find out which companies have a sponsoring license from the gov.uk website. They tell you exactly which ones are allowed to sponsor you, and not all the licenses are the same. I think some of them have some restrictions. Um, but I remember the HR manager, she told me that we have the capacity to sponsor you, but we can also hire you, and we can use your post-study work visa as work authorization. And she asked me questions about how I would like to stay in the UK, how many years I'm looking to stay in the UK. Obviously, before she has to ask these questions, she doesn't want to give a visa to someone who's just going to leave.
Exactly.
So yeah, exactly. So obviously, I told her, "Listen, like I came here, I did my masters, I learned this. I'm applying to jobs to stay here. I'm not looking to leave anytime soon. If that answers your question." And I told her, like, these are the benefits of me working in the UK as opposed to me working in my home country. I enjoy the life here. I already have friends here, and I think this will expose me to a lot better opportunities. Even if I don't end up working in your company, I think working as an engineer in the UK will provide you with further opportunities down the line in your career. Um, then she was convinced, and she reported back obviously to my manager saying, "Okay, we can sponsor this guy." So they what they usually do is they take the case, my application, my profile basically, and they hand it over to a solicitor, an immigration specialist who handles this visa application. they want to make sure, because there's a lot of details that need to be filled out. Realistically, if you read carefully and pay attention and do enough research, you can fill it out yourself. You can fill the details in yourself as an employer, obviously. But they wanted to make sure that everything was filled out correctly, nothing was going wrong, and they wanted to hire me as soon as possible because the vacancy was urgent and it was immediate. So,
And when you have someone who knows how to do the process, it's easier, right?
oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
quicker, easier, and you know it's gonna be right. So
Also, yeah. Also, I think they might know someone in the immigration department that can make things easier for them, because they file the immigration specialist files thousands of these applications for so many different companies. So they
yes,
have experience in doing that, and they have experience in doing it quick, and they know exactly what mistakes to look out for.
exactly.
Because the last thing you want to do is pay money, and it's not a cheap visa, by the way. Pay money for this visa just to find out that it got rejected because you misspelled something or you forgot to mention something. But yeah, the application process, it was long, but actually, sorry, it wasn't long. It was just it required a lot of details. It required a lot of information, and they asked me so many questions that um, where I lived in the past 10 years, my previous employers, where I'm living in the UK now, um, what I'll be doing in my new job. Have I ever worked in the army? Have I ever worked in a political party? Any of these things. And then I
It
got the
did a lot
visa.
of questions, but nothing like huge thing, nothing special, just normal details,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. It's all. So this isn't the interview. There's another interview afterwards, but this is just filling out the application itself with the immigration specialist.
Okay.
So they once the visa is sent out, you can actually start working until you get the. But this is only based on the condition that you are switching from another British visa. So
You
if
already had the rights to work. You're just asking to change the type of visa.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah, exactly. So when so once the application was sent out, the immigration specialist reported back to the HR department and said, "This guy is now allowed to work with you for the time being until we get a decision on the visa." So I think it took me maybe like less than a week after I started my job, and I got the interview to go in and take some pictures, fingerprints, biometrics, and all that stuff, and to answer a few questions, and then they give you a decision. So if you don't pay for a fast processing, um, you get it within 8 weeks, anytime in between 1 to 8 weeks. But from what I've heard, a lot of people get it within the third week or fourth week. Um,
It's quick
if
enough.
you pay extra for fast processing, you can get it for within 5 days. And if you pay even more, you can get it the next business day. I don't think they paid for the very fast processing, but they paid for fairly fast because I did hear back afterwards the decision within 3 or 4 days. Um, so I got the visa afterwards, and then I started my job as a quality engineer. And basically, what I do is, or what any quality engineer does, is that when in any manufacturing environment, when something is being produced, the quality engineer is the one that steps in and says, "Hold on a second, how well did we do this? And did you follow these procedures?" Because usually what happens is you have a research and development department that is telling the manufacturing department to manufacture certain certain things, but then how do you control how well
It's
these
standard. Yeah.
these products are? Then that's where the quality engineer comes in. and the quality engineer is the one that kind of takes the feedback from the research and development department, and they tell them that the process has to be between this criteria and this range, and it cannot exceed this kind of temperature. You cannot have more than this amount of defects, because otherwise, all of these things contribute to the lifetime of the end product. And as any business, you want to make products that will last as long as possible. So without a quality department, there's going to be a lot of variance. There's no telling how long something can last. But we have a quality department. We have the occupation, the job itself. Quality engineer is there to make sure that you have squeezed every department in your job, in the environment, and they've done the best that they can to make sure that they have produced the highest quality of product. Yeah. And then you produce quality controlled documents that basically have specifications. And then you have to train operators. You have to tell these operators that this is how you load something into a machine, unload it. This is how you measure it. You measure it with this equipment. And if they don't know how to measure it with this equipment, you teach them how to measure it with this equipment. And then on top of that, you have to make sure that that measuring equipment is validated and calibrated. And if it's a complicated measuring equipment, like something called CMMs, which are coordinate measurement machines, and these are automated and they measure 2D and 3D objects automatically with very, very high accuracy and precision. Something like that needs to be calibrated. So you have to call the manufacturer and then you tell them, hey, can you please send someone in to calibrate the machine? And then you have to keep track of all of these records. You have to keep track on who you trained, what machines you've calibrated, or what machines are working and what's not. And then you have your KPIs, your key performance indicators. If you have a certain number of defects that you have to minimize within a certain time, how do you reduce these defects? You have to do a root cause analysis. You have to see what could have possibly went wrong in the process during the manufacturing. And then you have to bring in all the people that could have potentially had something to do with this defect, whether it's the supplier, whether it's the manufacturing, whether it's the facilities, there's something wrong in the humidity that's causing these defects, depending obviously on what exactly is being produced. You will have a wide variety of possible root causes. So what you need to do is you need to have a structured approach and good record keeping of how you can trace back every progress you've made towards finding the root cause of the problem. And that's basically what a quality engineer does. You also want to make sure that, I wanted to add this, is that your process is operating at as closely as possible to the nominal value. And the nominal value is usually the value or the rate or the measurement specification that is set by the research and development team. The research and development team, they tell you these parts need to be manufactured with these dimensions, within this temperature, within this atmosphere. It is your job as the quality engineer to make sure that the environment, whether it's the machines, whether it's the actual facilities itself, whether it's the operators, whether it's the equipment, are all working towards making sure that this criteria is met, that the process is not deviating. You also have to be on the watch. You have to make sure that, look at the trends of how well the process have been performing over the past 2 or 3 months. Is it getting worse? Is it getting better? And if it's getting worse, why is it getting worse? If it's getting better, why is it getting better? So you need to be able to answer all of these questions. And there's a wide variety of quality tools. You can get certification. You can use Six Sigma. You can use core tools, quality core tools, and these are things that you can either learn on YouTube, or sometimes your company will send you to a training site to be trained on these tools, and then come back and apply them to the job.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Did you apply anything about your data analysis in your
Yeah.
job now?
Yes. Yes. And I think a lot of the times when you're doing quality, you're looking at data. You're looking at a large amount of data, especially with uh, the job that I'm in right now. A lot of the one of the things that I measure, not measure physically, but one of the things that I have to make sure that are measured properly is a very, very, very small hole size. And on every one of our products, there is thousands of these holes, which you can imagine is a nightmare to make sure that they are within control. So, in order for me to kind of see how well they have been measured, I have to look at the historic data, which involves hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of files of Excel. So one of the things that I've done actually is that I wrote a Python programming script. It's like a program, and
Yes.
I wanted to get data from over something around like 1,000 files, Excel files. But I wasn't like the only like usually the normal approach would be to go in, open the file, copy and paste the cells, and paste them all in one cell, and do that 1,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
But I told myself, hold on a second, I know something here. There's something that could be done. And then if you know data science a little bit of data science, you can know that you can actually have a program that repeats a certain command. So obviously I went on forums, and I went on, there's a very famous forum called Stack Overflow, which is made for computer science or anything IT related. And it's people sharing their answers, people asking questions, and other people helping them. And there's a lot of common questions on there. So one of the tasks that I've done is that I went on this forum and I asked, how can I? Sorry, I didn't ask. Someone else asked. Like it was already answered for me. And then I copied the code, and then obviously I had to fix a few things, customize it so it fits the type of data that I'm dealing with. And then I had a script that would automatically go into every file, grab a specific cell, a specific value, and then post it into one file. And so at the end of the script, I have one file that has thousands
All
of
this.
files of data. Yeah. So is data science required in my job? No, it's not. Is it helpful? Yes, it's very helpful. It's very helpful because you can visualize data better, you can collect data better, you can definitely analyze data better, and that's, I feel like it's an essential skill that you need to have. To a certain extent, you need to know some data science, and I'm sure a lot of engineers nowadays and a lot of people within the field of science, biology, physics, chemistry, they have done some sort of data science to an extent. I know people that had
Sometimes
biochemistry
they just
majors that,
don't know that.
huh?
Sometimes they just don't know they are doing that already, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Yeah. Exactly. I've had people that have done biochemistry who've used programming to do statistical analysis on, I don't know, like something like cell reproduction, or rates of flow of something in biology. Like there's always room for data science, and that is something that in today's world is so important. I think it should be taught more, to be honest.
agreed. Yeah. Because we can use data science everywhere, right? For
Yeah,
all the types of engineerings or any other marketing, like we can use everywhere. So it's
yeah,
when you can prove that what you did on your master degree, it's now helping you with something that you was working on your college. In
Hmm.
this way,
Hmm.
it's really nice. It's really nice.
Yeah.
And you definitely will help yourself, like with your productivity and all the information you can get with the knowledge you have and you're applying,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, I think I feel like with data science in engineering
Mm,
specifically, it's it eases my tasks. I can carry out more tasks quicker.
yes,
So yeah, that's basically what my journey up till now is. Um, being in the UK and becoming a quality engineer. In the future, I think the company that I'm in right now has a very bright future ahead of it, and I think I will try to apply myself in it as much as I could, and hopefully to grow with it. And hopefully, who knows, maybe bring in more data science practices into the
that's
job.
that's good. You can start to create a few programs and sell to other engineers, and then help them to improve themselves at work as well.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. I've had one of my other colleagues. His name is Lucas. He actually he asked me one time, "Hey, can you help me with this in Excel? I heard from someone that you know how to do this," and I ended up helping him. I don't think I gave him exactly what he wanted, but he got the point. I told him, "Listen, like if you need anything data related, just let me know."
It's the same Lucas. I'm thinking about it.
Yes, yes. There's only one
Okay.
Lucas.
Yeah. He's actually with us. He's watching the live stream. And he
Oh,
said,
is he?
yeah, he said here, let me see. He said, hello, good evening first. But then he said, we talk about it. Tell us about the process of getting your visa in UK. You told us that. And what is the easiest language to learn? Have you used Python or VBA at work?
Okay, so VBA is it's a bit old. It's still useful, but I think if
It's
you want
virtual
to
basic,
remain,
right?
yeah, Visual Basic, yeah. So if you want to remain in the field of engineering, having VBA is good, and you don't want to get into too much programming and have a lot of flexibility with Excel. I think VBA is very good for that. If you want to do a career change, and you want to get more, or not necessarily a career change, but you want to do more data analytics, forecasting, machine learning, anything to do with data science, I think you're better off learning Python. You
Python.
can also learn a programming language called R, but there's the demand for R is declining. It's been declining a lot the past few years. I think Python is more versatile. I think it's more demanded. Even if you do switch jobs, it will be easier for you to join another company that uses Python. They're more likely to use Python than R or VBA, for example. But yeah,
Python, I think Python is more famous nowadays. Like everybody's talking about
yeah,
Python, and you're not listening much about Visual Basic anymore.
yeah, yeah. Well, Visual Basic is good when it comes to making macros on Excel. And it gives you the ability to really customize your Excel template or macro. But again, it's only limited to Excel. It's only limited to the functionality of Excel. Whereas Python, the reason why Python is growing a lot these days is because it's very user friendly. In programming languages, there's something called a library, and a library is like a package or it's a set of saved preset functions that you can just call, and they all have like a specific purpose. And every function can run 100 commands within one execution. And the good thing
Mm,
about Python is that the libraries for it are endless. There's so many there's libraries for data visualization. If you want to visualize your data through different dimensions, through um, in through different types of graphs, histographs, bar charts, scatter plots, any of these things. There's a library for that. If you want to do just data formatting and you want to put the data in a specific rows or columns or a specific array or matrix, for example, there's a library for machine learning, because a lot of the machine learning actually involves so many consecutive mathematical operations that no one has the time to do that. So there's people that program these libraries, and they tell you, hey, it's ready for you. You don't need to do any of these mathematical operations. You just use or call one of the functions from that library, and you'll be able to execute these commands within one execution. So that's why it's, and with C++ and the other languages, they do have libraries as well. But with Python is it's I think it's the easiest, and at the same time, for data science at least, it's the most applicable and the most demanded programming language in today's IT world. I think for engineering, Python is good as well, because a lot of engineers like to use MATLAB, and and MATLAB is usually taught in a lot of engineering undergraduate programs. But even with MATLAB, the Python users, they know that there are still a lot of people using MATLAB, so they made a library, a package that allows you to use Python with MATLAB. So it's extremely flexible. It's a very, very flexible language, and it has the capacity to carry out so many operations. And I encourage anyone to learn it, to be honest.
To learn Python.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's really helpful when you have these programs to help your productivity and to get your information quicker than we are normally working or doing.
Exactly, yeah. Some of the biggest and most important business decisions that have been made in the past 2 or 3 years in some of the biggest companies, some of the biggest corporate companies in the world, have been made through Python. It's because data science is there to make business decisions for you through analytics and data and insight that no one else could have predicted except for your computer.
Because it's something that will take a lot of times for a human being doing, right?
To remember, exactly, yeah. So the computer remembers it for you. The computer, you give the computer, machine learning itself, you're giving a machine so many conditions to learn, so many conditions. After you give it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of conditions, you ask it, okay, based on all of these conditions that I've given you, which direction is going to give us the best yield in the business, or the best sales revenue, or get us the most customer engagement? So I think it needs to be incorporated in any business, whether you're doing marketing, whether you're doing engineering, whether you're doing law, whether you're doing, even now, there's a lot of AI influence in the field of medicine.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah.
It's all about to know how to use the technology in your favor, let's say, to help you, to be something that will improve and not just be there, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Agree.
Yeah, that's great. We have another comment here. Fernando is saying, great experience. What is interesting is that you could use Python into the quality engineer and optimize a lot of your time. Yes.
Yes, I agree. I agree, because when you can use Python to forecast, let's say, for example, the number of defects that you can possibly get within a month, and you can use Python to forecast when your machines can go down, and then you can react to that. You can also use it to kind of see which features or which stages in the production are contributing the most to the yield or to the overall performance of the manufacturing process itself. It gives you weights. It tells you this is weighted differently, or maybe this process is weighted less, and so on. You can draw insight based on that.
Yeah. No, it's really, really, really amazing what you can do when you know how to use this software in your favor, like the knowledge that you have and all the programs and everything. I'm so glad that you came here today to share your story. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed speaking about it.
Now, I learned a lot with you, and I'm sure it's going to help a lot of people as well. And is something
I
else
hope
that you want
so.
to like? Sorry.
Oh no, sorry. I was saying I hope it does help people.
I'm sure will. Is something else that you would like to share or you forgot to tell us?
I think if I suspect that the majority of the viewers are people that are trying to get work their way into working in the UK or any country with like a lot of work opportunities, I think the one advice I would give is that you need to stand out. And because when you stand out, companies don't care if you have whatever citizenship, they will hire you if you stand out. You need to give them a reason why you're worth this much or why they should go through the risk of sponsoring you. Um, if it means learning something new, if it means getting certifications. Although to be honest, I'm not huge fan of certifications. I'm more of a fan of having experience. So even if you don't have experience within something, because I know it's an ongoing cycle where to get this job you need experience. To get experience, you need to get this job.
Yes.
So volunteer. There's a lot of freelancing projects that you can do. Um, and if you'd like to get into the field of data science or anything programming related to do with Python, feel free to share my contact details in the description, and I'd gladly help answer any of the questions. I think when it comes to applying for jobs, especially when you don't have the citizenship or the right work authorization, it's a numbers game. I think you have to go through at least every day 10 to 15 good quality applications. Try to customize your cover letter, try to customize your resume so it appeals to the company that you're applying for. And when I say 10 to 15, I'm not talking about the easy click feature on LinkedIn. I'm talking about you go to the actual website, and I'm not saying that you can't get a job off the easy click, but like I think it would mean a lot more for the company if you go applying directly on their website. You customize a cover letter for them. You show them that you've done research on their company, and then already you're showing the whoever's recruiting you for this role that you have some sort of intimacy between each other. That you're already close to the company. And yeah, it's you have to keep on applying. I think I went through when I was in the US. I went through at least 450 job applications before I got that job. And out of those job applications, I had around 10 interviews. And out of those 10 interviews, I got 2 offers. One offer did not pay me that well. The other one gave me the salary that I wanted. And similarly, in the UK, I had a similar statistic where I went through hundreds of applications. And then I got shortlisted on maybe 5 or 6 jobs, and then ended up with 1 or 2 offers at the end.
It's great that you're saying that because most of the times I heard from different people like, oh, I already applied for a lot of companies and nobody replied me. I never got any call back, blah, blah, blah. And then when I ask, okay, how many CVs did you send? Oh, I sent like 5, 10. And I'm like, you need to send a little bit more. I'm always saying that. So it's good that you're sharing for you was the same because
Yeah,
it's not just one person that is applying. It's like thousands of people applying for the same
it's
job.
thousands. It's thousands of people from inside the UK and thousands of people outside of the UK as well. So
Exactly.
I think eventually, if you keep on going, if you keep on trying, eventually things will align and you will find the right window.
Exactly.
Someone will see you, someone will want the skills that you have so badly that they'll do whatever it takes to get you on board.
Yes.
But you just have to keep applying. I went on waves of sending mass volumes of applications, and then other weeks where I was just like, what's the point? And then other weeks I'd get back on my feet and just like, no, I need to send more. And again, what's the point? And so on and so on. It's cycles. But
Yes.
what I've learned is that even if it's a cycle, be persistent and be consistent with the cycle. Eventually, you will get somewhere.
Yes. Because we just need to stop when we get more yes. Because I always say, I don't know if it's going to make sense in Portuguese, but in English, sorry. But I'm always saying the only thing we are looking for is the yes. The no
Mm-hmm.
will keep us the same way. Nothing change when you get a no. But until you get your yes, your job opportunity, then you're going to have a change in your life. Then everything is going to start again because it's a next step, a next level. But when you just get like you apply, and you're still like, no, 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 you're still the same. It's not changing.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And I think instead of trying to get out as many applications as much as you can, instead of doing that, try to actually put some time, send some good quality CVs.
Good ones. Yes.
Yeah, take your time with it. Go sit in a cafe, get some coffee, and try to like write your cover letter. Read the job description. See what you've done in the past that matches that job description. Change some of the things in the cover letter or in your resume so that they're more aligned with the skills in the job description. So when that person or the recruiter is looking at your CV or your resume, they know they have already the keywords right in front of them. They don't want to spend time looking for the answer, even though the answer might be there. But keep in mind, they're looking at hundreds and hundreds of resumes. They don't have the time to go through the entire page just to find one sentence that says, oh, you've used this tool, or you've used, I don't know, like the Six Sigma or something like that. So it's important to try to customize your CV as much as possible to the job description.
Exactly. Thank you for being you who is saying that now, and it's not just me repeating the same thing all the time.
No, it's yeah, it's I had to say it. I learned it the hard way, to be honest. But
All of
yeah,
us, all of us.
mhm.
And that's why we are here. We are here today to try to help who is watching to not go to the hard way, to try to go. It's going to be hard anyway, but could be a little bit soft,
Yeah, exactly,
right?
exactly.
Mahmoud, thank you so much for your time. I think
Of course.
we had a great chat today, and definitely you're gonna learn a lot for someone. So
Thank
thank
you,
you for
thank you.
that.
I hope the message is clear to everyone who went through the same or similar experiences I did.
And be prepared because I'm sure a lot of people will try to contact you on your
I'm
LinkedIn.
I'm very I'm
Get
very
more
open for that. Yeah,
information. Yes.
I'll try to help as much as I can.
I will leave your LinkedIn down here on the description so they can contact you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me, Beatrice.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. I hope we can meet one day. I need to go to England to visit Lucas, so I'll let you know if I decide to meet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully he'll be around as well.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, I don't know if he hopefully him and I will still be working together.
I hope Lucas is he loves surprise, so it's hard to say.
Yeah.
He's always coming with something new, so we never know. But
Yeah.
I'm sure he will be around. That's the main thing.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Have a
Thank you
good
so
night.
much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much, Beatrice.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye.
And thank you for all of you who stay with us until now. It was a pleasure. I hope you enjoy. Don't forget to leave your like down here. Leave your comments if you have any questions or if you want to share what you learned with us tonight. And please share this video with friends that you believe will be helpful to get this information from today. Thank you again for your time. I'll see you next week. Have a good night. Bye bye.